So watching the video stirred up a lot of the same passion in me that I had felt when I was at Park Street Church many years ago. And that video, by the way, was put together by none other than Tom Albinson, so it seems our paths have crossed again. So I pondered the question now as a teacher, is there something that I can do to help these displaced people? I had an idea that if there was an online platform where refugee students who can't go to school could connect with a mentor teacher, perhaps that volunteer teacher could virtually accompany the student along the journey and give them guidance and help them fill the gap time in their education. And so I submitted the proposal to the online challenge, was a little surprised to find out that I was chosen as a semifinalist, went to MIT at the end of September, presented my 3-minute pitch on the idea, which I do have a video of, I can show you another time. And my proposal was selected along with 2 others to be a finalist. At different points along this journey, the connections that have been a little bit mind-blowing to me. For instance, one of the judges on the panel at MIT was himself a refugee as a teenager in Yugoslavia when it was torn by the Civil War, living in Belgrade. So a lot of connections there. As a SOLVE finalist, I'm being encouraged by the people at MIT to explore and define my idea a bit more, and they'll see if they can help me find partners to develop it. So voila, there is the rest of my sabbatical plan just dropped into my lap. So I plan to go to Bulgaria, which you can see with a second pin there, and travel around with a volunteer teacher that I met through SOLVE. We'll be meeting with refugee families in Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, perhaps other places, talking to them about what they need and how we might be able to help. I also plan to meet with some of Tom Albinson's people who have established refugee camps along the way as well. So remember, the other half that I had already decided on for my sabbatical has been to go to Romania to work at the orphanage. As you can see on the map, Romania is just one country north of Bulgaria. So again, everything seems to be falling into place quite neatly, far better than I could have planned myself. Go ahead to the next slide. This is Casa Sanctuary. Let me give you a brief background to the Romanian orphanage. In the 1980s, Romania, as I said, was one of the most tightly controlled communist nations in the Eastern Bloc. A pretty mean guy named Nicolae Ceausescu was a dictator in Romania for almost 25 years. During his rule of power, in order to get the country out of a tremendous amount of debt that he had driven it into, he decided that the solution would be to increase the population. This is his economics: more people, more money. So all forms of birth control were outlawed. Family size grew very large, but economic conditions, however, remained very difficult. And so now families had 5 or more children to take care of, and they couldn't afford to feed them. Not being able to take care of them, thousands of families abandoned their children to state hospitals. The orphanage system in the country could not handle this number of children. They couldn't care for them adequately. And the children suffered under horrible conditions. Of course, no one knew this because at the time Romania was very tightly sealed. In fact, this was all going on in 1987, back when I was right in Belgrade there, just across the river. So, in 1989, just 2 years after I left Yugoslavia, the seemingly impossible happened. The Ceausescu regime was overthrown in a violent revolution, culminating in the nationally televised Christmas morning execution of Ceausescu. Soon afterward, many aid groups went into the country, and that's when the plight of the Romanian orphans became known. So you can show the next slide. One of the guys from my Eastern European team, his name is Ray Wright, had the opportunity to go to Romania in 1990, and this place that we had heard so many horror stories about, and still, when he went there, he went to a town's hospital, and he found a 6-year-old girl who couldn't walk or talk because she had been confined to a crib for the early years of her life. So he was shocked, he wanted to do something, so after additional follow-up trips to Romania, he partnered with some others to purchase a small house in Romania. And that small house soon turned into Casa Sanctuary. Casa Sanctuary now comprises 3 homes, one for young children, one for teenage girls, one for teenage boys. I'm going to show you stories of a couple of the kids. You can show the next one. These are Nikolai and Ramona. They're the newest additions to the Casa family. They came last summer. Nikolai was 9 and Ramona was 4. Their father was an alcoholic, a very violent man. The children were forced to beg in the streets. They lived in squalor, didn't go to school, and didn't have enough food. So the state took the children away from their parents and brought them to Casa. At Casa Sanctuary, they've learned how to bathe, how to behave in school, how to eat well, and they're happily part of the Casa family now. And the next slide. This is Stefania. She has lived in the orphanage since she was 8, along with her 2 younger brothers. She's now attending college, studying history and Bible. She's getting married next summer, which will be the 3rd of the Casa weddings. One of the great things about Casa is that they keep caring even after the children turn 18. The children who are in these state orphanages, still, when they turn 18, they lose all their benefits. So imagine turning 18 and being turned out of your home. Nobody's helping you plan to go to college. Nobody's helping you pay for college. Nobody's even finding you a job. You just have to survive. Sadly, a lot of these kids end up in crime or back out on the streets. But for the Christian orphanages, they take care of the kids and help them to stand on their own feet. And next slide. You can imagine this place is a wonderful home to be in, filled with chaos and love at the same time. Its mission is to be a place where abandoned children can grow up in security and love and to know that they are beloved children of God. I'm looking forward to spending time there to get to know the children and the staff better, helping where I can, and recording some of their stories. So that's a little bit about what I'm going to do during my sabbatical, how I'm going to use this gift of time that I've been given. As I get ready to go there, NHS is organizing one more fundraiser to help raise some money for the orphanage, and Lydia's going to tell you about that.
When my family went to the orphanage, I remember how the kids said they were treated differently and worse at school because they were Roma or Gypsy, and this is just another difficulty that's added on to all the hardships of being an orphan and attending school in Romania. In Romania, families have to buy not only school supplies like paper, pencils, and backpacks, but also uniforms. College is a lot less expensive there than it is here. Tuition is only about $1,000 or $2,000. However, the average Romanian family income is about $400 or $500 a month, which is one of the lowest in the European Union. And what we are able to give can make a really big difference in their lives who don't have parents to help them pay for college. The National Honor Society is sponsoring a cookie sale next week to help the kids at Casa Sanctuary with their educational expenses. We are going to bake tons of Christmas cookies this weekend, and we'll have them available in Longacre Commons during lunch and after school next week for any size donation. And the teachers, if you didn't have a chance to order your cookies last week, you still have a time because we're extending the deadline until Thursday. Thank you. Class is beginning in 5 minutes.